Hi, good morning, Prof. Arif. So today I'll be presenting on about the robotic process automation group assignment that my group have done up. So my group members are as shown. And in this first process, we will be analyzing what automation bot is being designed that is suitable for such automation. And for the team, we have come up with an automation process that automates the vouching process for the sales. So why do we choose sales? In the revenue line item in the financial statements, it is the highest risk for the fraudulent activities if a company will to want to make their financial performance in a better state. And moving on, so what type of activity will be appropriate for such automation? We understand that it should be repeatable and it should be high volume and simple. So in this case, every company will have a high volume in sales. That's why a sales would be a suitable line item for this automation. And in the second point, understanding that the auditor's role is to conduct a sampling checks on the sales transaction. However, they are doing this repetitively. Hence, with such automation, this will remove this repeatable process. And lastly, this simple automation process will allow the auditors to provide 100% assurance that the revenue segment is free from financial misstatements. And moving on, we'll be talking about the BPM and the RPA process that the team have come up with. So first of all, we have started the process with opening the sales invoice and followed by scanning the sales invoice details by data scraping. And we will capture these invoice details that we have data scraped into the process database. Subsequently, we'll write these details into Excel and instruct the bot to save to the CSV folder. And moving on, we will vouch this sales invoice to the client data that has been provided by the client. And subsequently, the bot will create a matched and unmatched item report that will update the database at the same time. And lastly, with the matched and unmatched report, the bot will be automated to send out email notification to the client as a form of a discrepancy report to gain further clarification from the client. And now I'll be passing on my time to Gorian to speak about the automation process in the UI path.
Okay, now I'll be walking you through the process of our bot. So for our bot, we'll be using a flowchart, which includes 3 major steps. Step 1 is to read the sales invoice. Step 2 is to convert the Excel to CSV. And step 3 will be to reconcile the sales invoice. So for step 1, it will be the reading of the sales invoice in PDF by data scraping using anchor base. So before that, we'll be using control num1 for our hotkey so that the scraping will be accurate. So for our anchor base, for our first anchor base, we'll be using anchor left, whereby the title is on the left and the value that we want to scrape is on the right. And another example will be anchor top, whereby the title is on top and the value that we want to scrape is at the bottom. So after scraping all the details that we need, the bot will close the application. And after which, we'll add data row. In this step, we'll input 10 columns required for the sales invoice vouching under the array row, which is shown over here. This includes the invoice date, invoice number, and etc. The details will be written into the designated Excel over here. After finishing step 1, we will move on to step 2. Step 2 is to convert Excel to CSV. So all these following hotkeys will be assigned to guide the bot to save the Excel into a CSV file, as shown over here. After the hotkey is done, there'll be a click button to save the CSV file. Moving on, the last step will be to reconcile the sales invoice. to reconcile the details recorded from the bot in comparison to the sales data. There will be a match and unmatch Excel created based on the data table details that we have included, which is over here, match and unmatch. The data table details are actually the same as the sales data vouching details that we have done previously. Invoice date, invoice number, and etc. So at this stage, we have instructed the bot to read and reconcile the sales data and client data. If it matches, it will be included inside the match sales invoice CSV that the bot has created over here. If otherwise, the data will be written in the unmatched sales invoice CSV over here. And the last step will be to email the client the match and unmatched report and request further clarification on the discrepancy found. This will be the details of our email, which is over here. Yep. So basically, we will have a salutation. We tell him about the match and unmatched, and seek clarification about the difference in the unmatched invoices. So this is the end of our bot. the bot has finished running. So now we're showing you the email that has been sent to the client, which includes the matched sales invoice and the unmatched sales invoice. So we're opening the matched sales invoice first. As you can see, matched sales invoice, there's sales invoice number 2 all the way to sales invoice number 9. There's a total of 7 sales invoice over here. Moving on to the unmatched sales invoice. As you can see over here, there's 3 unmatched sales invoice. Number 1, 5, and 10. So for example, we're using invoice 1 to show you that it's really unmatched. So the total value here is 180. So I will vouch to the customer vouching, which shows 120.